All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be chatting to an individual who's got a great fight coming up here that headlines BKFC Prospect Series Edmonton, and that goes down on August the 31st. We have Drew Stuve knuckling up and towing the line against Sonny Smith, and good getting to have Sonny on Bare Knuckle Bowker for the first time. How's your day been going so far, man?
It's good, mate. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I imagine this fight is something you're very much looking forward to. Like I saw you had a post a few weeks ago talking about how it's been a while of things kind of being dangled in front of you and then kind of taken away at the last minute. You were more speaking to that in the context of a trip you were looking to take, but then you were saying like, "Oh yeah, Chris Lytle had reached out to me and seems like something's gonna get rolling and everything." So yeah, cool to hear that you were, I guess, reached out to for this one and seems like a big one to say the least.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to get the main event after my last performance. Obviously, it was very disappointing getting TKO'd in the first round, but they understand what this game is. I understand what this game is. You know, if people get knocked out, that's why the fans love it so much. So yeah, it's a great opportunity. I couldn't have dreamt up a better opportunity being main event and the show after that happening here in Canada. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to finally showing what I've been working on and performing. It was a disappointing show last time. I got caught early on, that's the game. But yeah, I want to show what I'm actually made of.
Well, I think you kind of just illustrated it right there. I mean, it's one of those things where I mean, it just happens sometimes, like, for lack of a better way to phrase it. Like, you've definitely shown your level in some prior bare knuckle fights that you've had. And I mean, there was a certain, like, level of having to readjust to some things, I imagine, too. Just, Dustin Thompson was the initial opponent and then Jeremiah Riggs coming in. But I mean, it seems like you would probably glean some things from that last fight and learn some lessons, even though it was like a disappointing outing based on how I've seen you describe it online and things like that.
Yeah, it was. So for those of you who don't know, 2 weeks before the fight, my original opponent pulled out. He was a similar fighter to Drew, actually. He was an amateur boxing pedigree. So I was training for an amateur boxer, and then I got I got Jeremiah Riggs, who's an absolute animal. I actually really like the bloke. We had good talks before the fight and after the fight. I like watching him. You know, he's an exciting fighter and he hits like a truck. That's why they call him the Big Rig. Yeah, so I got that fight with 2 weeks' notice. Obviously, I'm going to say yes. That's the type of guy I am. I'm not going to turn down an offer like that. And it didn't go my way. I wish I'd had more time in there to show what I was made of. The game plan was to survive that first round. So I knew he would come out hard. I obviously cut him with my first two shots, was right off the bell. And I think he saw red. He knew that he could get stopped from that cut. So he needed to knock me out and he got the job done. But like I said before, it's this is the bare knuckle game. I'm not letting it affect me. I've been knocked out many times before on the street. I'm a bit of a street fighter growing up. And to be honest, every fighter, bare knuckle fighter I look up to, they've all been stopped in, most of them been stopped within the first round at some point early on in their career. It's not what you do. It's not getting knocked down that matters. It's what you do next that really matters. That's what an old boxing trainer once told me.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good advice. And I mean, you definitely have had some of those moments from what I could tell in my research. I think even your post-fight address of everything after that first BKFC fight, like you were talking about how there are certain times where like you'd take on like whole door teams at bars and stuff like that. And even to the
Yeah.
scale I saw in one scenario, you said you nearly died. I mean, that's intense stuff, man, for sure.
Yeah, I've actually nearly died a couple of times. I got a metal plate in my face here. I got yeah, stitches all over. I got metal plate in my leg where I was knocked out as well and fell back on my own leg and broke my leg. I grew up fighting. That's the culture that I come from, and obviously that's bare knuckle fighting. So getting knocked out or getting hurt in a fight is not a big deal for me. Like a lot of people were messaging me like worried, and I was just like, yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? This time I got a good paycheck for it. I got a pat on the back, and I got a great experience out of it, and definitely a learning experience. I know what I did wrong there. I kind of froze on the ropes for a bit. I wasn't moving my head. I wasn't blocking, and I got hit with a hard punch. So I've been working on a lot of things since then. I'm just excited to get in there and make it all right again. I'm so happy that they gave me this opportunity. They did tell me that they was going to get me on the card again, but to get a main event is a dream come true, really.
Yeah, and cool getting to be back in Canada. Like I think BKFC kind of encroaching into, my neck of the woods is definitely like a good idea in a lot of regards. Like I'd talked to David Feldman a while ago before they started to really, I guess, like encroach into that market, and he was saying that it could even be like their number two market in their global expansion. So cool to see that you're, back in Canada for this one.
Yeah, and it was great to be on the first ever one as well. That's a big historical moment for Bare Knuckle. And I know that's sold out pretty quick. And I'm trying to get all my buddies to get the tickets because the tickets are on sale now and they're apparently selling out very quick again. It was a great atmosphere at the casino there, the River Cree. I've never been there before, but that was a great experience just being a part of it. And I was like co-main last time, which came as a surprise because some fights fell through and then I was bumped up. So I was treated really well by the BKFC and the casino there. And now a main event, so I'm going to get all the pop star treatment. It's nice. It's
Yeah, and
living the pro fighter dream, actually. That's is a dream that I've had since I was a kid.
yeah, when did that seed first get planted for you? Like you talk about it being a dream since you were a kid, and it's cool to see what you're, doing now. But like, when did that, I guess, initial impression get made where you really wanted to do this?
Well, I was forced into fighting as a youngster just because of I didn't want to be bullied, basically. And that's the way it was in the UK. And then all through like the going out on nightlife and that, there's other groups fighting. So I was always fighting. I started boxing when I was about 16, went through a good amateur boxing gym down in Brighton Hove, where I was from. And that's when I was in the same gym with pro fighters. Chris Eubank Jr. used to train there. And there's a guy called Lloyd Elliott I became good friends with, who was a pro boxer for a while. So I was watching him, and I always had it in my mind that I wanted to be a pro fighter, but my life took a different route. I went down in the military side, and I boxed in the military on and off, and I kept coming back to boxing. I did a bit of a stint in MMA as well, but yeah, I'm just great that this bare knuckle thing exploded when it did, because if I was to go glove boxing and try and be a pro, I'd be a nobody. It'd take me years to get onto a main event card like I am now. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's all come together, to be honest. Which I wouldn't have expected a few years back for bare knuckle to be this big, but it it has become this big, and it's just growing and growing and growing, especially with Conor McGregor now involved. The fact that like Conor McGregor is technically my boss is mad. And the fact that he's most likely going to be, well, he's probably going to be watching my fight wherever he is in the world on the 31st of August is crazy. Now, the opportunity there, if I get a big win, knockout win, could be signed to the BKFC and fighting in America, which is my real dream, to be a pro fighter and fight around America, especially Las Vegas. That's where I want to be. They're going to have a card in Vegas. I know they're on a trajectory with Vegas at some point. So my goal is to get me on that card whenever it happens.
Yeah, I was gonna like kind of reference like a post you had where you were saying like when I started bare knuckle, I was setting some goals for myself, and one of them was being to make enough money to take the family to Disneyland, which it looked like you were able to do, but it seems like the scale of things are upping as the industry grows, I guess, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that was from another promotion that I was in. And I can't talk about pay, but BKFC pay are way better and way better opportunities. So I've already ticked that goal off. We drove down from here we're in Squamish near Vancouver in British Columbia. We drove down to California, went to Disney for a few days. But yeah, I want to fly into Florida. That would be the ideal thing. Go to that Disney and also fight in Florida. That's one of the main places where the BKFC are having their cards. I'd love to fight there and then go Disney after. Two in one.
Yeah, and I mean it's ultimately an entirely different sport, but I would feel like your MMA experience that you alluded to, as well as that boxing foundation, would kind of even benefit you more long term in this BKFC rule set, just with what they're allowing for with like the active clinch as compared to, the earlier bare knuckle fights you had under that BKB rule set, where it's like more of that purely like at range kind of work.
Yeah, definitely. The clinch is a big deal, and it's not really even been mastered or utilized yet. It's wide open. That's what my coach says. Cole Smith, who's a former UFC fighter, owns my gym, Roundhouse, and I train in Squamish. he is a master of the clinch. He went and lived in Thailand for many years. So the stuff we've been working on is not even, I'm not even seeing other fighters use it yet. It's such a new sport in this regard that if you come in with something new, you're going to take over for a bit. Do you know what I mean? Until people catch up. It's just like the MMA scene with the calf kick and other moves. When someone revolutionizes it, brings it in, it takes a while for everyone else to start using it. You see some fighters using the clinch. I see some fighters overusing the clinch and wrestling a bit more, which is not really exciting for the fans. But a mixture of getting on the inside and roughing up your opponent and then getting back out and throwing hard shots. That's what I've been working on, using a bit of everything in the rule set, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And something that I've been kind of wanting to ask for a little bit. I mean, it's kind of a sidebar from the fight. I mean, I definitely have a lot of questions coming up with this, BKFC fight you have in the looming weeks. But I mean, it seems like you kind of laid the groundwork for being, in the finals of that Road to Thailand tournament. Like, why, I guess, based on your perspective, that did that never kind of manifest there? So you got like the wins over Johnny Lawson and Aaron McCallum back to back, and seemed like you were readying for a Scott McHugh fight in Thailand. Like, why did that not come to fruition ultimately from what you know, I guess?
Yeah, that was really disappointing though, because they marketed it loads. Like at my fight with Johnny Lawson, we had an interview with me and Scott at the end, and they were saying we Road to Thailand was supposed to be all expensive paid, go there that year in like December, and they just went quiet for ages, and then they messaged me saying, "Oh, we've got these other shows." They said they was going to have a show in Kazakhstan, which never happened. And they said that took priority, and I had a choice. I could either fight in the UK, Scott, or we could wait until the next year. And actually was speaking directly to Scott because he was annoyed as well because we'd been sold this great opportunity to go to Thailand, and we decided to wait until they would pay for us to go and fight in Thailand in the new year in like January or February. And then it just kept getting put off really. They didn't really care about it. So I think maybe it was financial, but that put me off that promotion a little bit, to be honest. I was massively disappointed because I just won this opportunity that they marketed and promoted massively. I was going to go to Thailand. They had a date set at one point. My coach bought tickets, friends of mine bought tickets, and they ended up going to Thailand without me anyway. And it was a bit like disheartening. They didn't really keep us in the loop. That was part of the reason why I went over to the other promotion. And the other reason was that they started doing the BKFC tryouts in Canada. My goal was always to get to the BKFC, but it hadn't been in Canada yet. So yeah, when the tryouts popped up, I went straight for that and then got on the card. So yeah, things have worked out good for me. I have nothing against BKB. It was a good promotion. It was good experience to get my foot in the door as well. Get the rounds in the bag. That's that's important with bare knuckle. I think I've done 5 rounds, so I know I can go 5 rounds. Um, but yeah, I was massively disappointed with that. I wanted to go to Thailand. You know, I'm all about experiences. You know, I'm 36 years old. I want to fight in Thailand. I want to fight in America. I want to travel the world and fight in all these different places. You know,
Yeah, and you
yeah,
mentioned the BKFC Canada tryouts. I was actually talking to your upcoming opponent, Drew
yeah.
Stuve, the other day, and he was saying you guys got in a bit of work at the tryouts. Like, what are your recollections of that?
Yeah, we got to spar 1 round right at the end there, and I'm quite. This is strange, but I'm quite happy. He got the better of me in that sparring, and he knows it, which I'm happy with that. I don't usually perform good in sparring anyway, and at the tryouts, they popped up out of nowhere when my fight had been cancelled. I wasn't training. I was just drinking with my mates and stuff. And then I was like, oh shit, there's tryouts in like 2 weeks. So I went and I did my best and I got through, but I wasn't in a good fitness state or in a good mindset state at the time. But yeah, I got to do a round with him and I got to see what he's about. And yeah, I'm happy with the matchup, to be honest. And I'm happy that he thinks that it's an easy fight as well. Psychological warfare.
Yeah, so you don't think that like round that you had with him was a representation of what you're going to be bringing to the fight at all?
Oh no, not at all. No. No, before the sparring, Chris Light was there. He was like, right, we just want light sparring. We just want you to go easy. And then all of his team were like lighting people up, which yeah, you're at a tryouts, go for it. But yeah, it didn't really bother me. I didn't get like beat up all over the show, but I didn't perform what I usually perform like when I'm in a fight. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I guess you'd had that post kind of recently too, where you addressed his amateur accomplishments. And even though he has also done bare knuckle, like he was on that first BKFC Canada card you were on, you were still saying like at the end of the day, it's not amateur boxing, and there's probably going to be a different energy in like a live competitive context versus like sparring at a tryout, I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's not even boxing. They call it bare knuckle fighting for a reason. It's completely different. I know he's got 1 round in the bag, but I've got like 8 rounds in the bag. And yeah, it isn't amateur boxing. There's something about me that I'm blessed with is my knuckles pretty sharp. Yeah, everybody I've fought, I've cut them up massively, and that's what I'm going to do to him. I'm going to cut him up. He's not going to have experienced being that cut and that badly hurt in any fight that he's ever been in. He was cut in just that 1 round that he was with his last opponent. Um, and he was hit quite a lot actually. I didn't think his opponent was like a high pedigree opponent. I thought he was looked after a bit with that opponent for his first bout, which is fair enough. But he still got hit. He still got hit on the chin. Yeah, so it's good for me. I've seen what I need to see. I know what I can do, and I just can't wait to do it.
And it seemed like per Instagram post you had circa May 2023, you were getting in like a solid year of hand strengthening. So it seems like you're doing certain different things for bare knuckle as opposed to like how you'd curate things for some of the other combat sports you've been in. Because I know some bare knuckle fighters kind of swear by the hand strengthening, whereas some kind of like, I don't know, not disavow it per se, but they just don't integrate it specifically into their preparations. But it seems like you do.
Yeah, I have been doing it for a couple of years now. I actually broke my hands many times as a fighting man on the streets, but since I've been doing bare knuckle, I've had no breaks at all, touch wood. They get swollen and that afterwards. But it's also the punch technique. I've changed the technique of the way I've learned from other bare knuckle fighters how to throw a bare knuckle punch, how to land it correctly, and how to minimize injuring your own hand. So that's been big. I've changed that about the way that I fight. So it's been going up really with the power that I'm using. Those first 2 fights, I was really worried about throwing full power punches because I didn't want to hurt my hands. But now that was my second fight was over a year ago, and I've continued the hand strengthening. Now I'm hitting the bag and pads bare knuckle all the time. My hands are good to go, so I'll be letting them fly.
Yeah, and how long have you been out in the Squamish area? Like you've mentioned that a couple times here. Like how long have you been getting in work at that Cole Smith space and whatnot? Because I mean, great insights from a UFC veteran and great stuff that's being done at Roundhouse from what I can tell. But how long has that journey been taking place?
It's about a year and a half now. I actually moved here nearly 2 years ago, and there was not many. There's no options with boxing. There was like one other MMA gym here. They didn't do any boxing classes, so there was about 4 months where I was just I'd no, I was thinking I'm going to have to drive down to Vancouver, which is like an hour drive. Not ideal to do that like multiple times a week when I'm working a full-time job and stuff. And then Cole just opened this gym, the stone's throw away from my house, and invited me to come in there and just been working with me one-on-one. And with all the other guys there, I've got a sponsor who I train and spar with weekly. It helps me out a lot, Onyx Solutions. So yeah, it's been the perfect setup really. I've had one-on-one training with a highly experienced fighter, and and now there's a boxing coach there as well. I do the boxing classes, and yeah, it's been a great opportunity. I was worried for a bit because I was just using the punch bag at the local gym and didn't really have a plan of how I was going to train, and then this just popped up, and the opportunity just grew from there.
Yeah, and what is it you do for full-time work, if you don't mind my asking?
I do security. I used to do close protection, but I actually moved to Squamish for a particular job that I can't really talk about. But I'm actually leaving that job in a week because that's night shifts, and night shifts have been bloody killing my body. And my last fight in the BKFC, I was working a night shift on the Wednesday night and fighting on the Saturday. It's not good for your health and well-being. So I'm finishing that job I've got like 4 shifts left, and then I have 3 weeks of good rest, good sleep before the fight this time. So I'll be well rested. Yeah, I've been doing 4 night shifts of 13 and a half hours a week on top of training full time, on top of being a father and uh, a family man. So it's been busy, but the next chapter is going to be better for me physically, because everything I've read about health and well-being is messing up your sleep pattern, your circadian rhythm is like the worst thing you can do. So yeah, I'm getting that sorted, and I'm going to feel the benefits of that. I guarantee it.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Like I've kind of, I guess, been on both ends of that. Like I worked like a summer in a factory on night shift and can be kind of disorienting. And then I also did morning radio for quite a few years. So it's like the exact inverse of that, just getting up super early to kind of get the news and happenings before everyone else. So yeah, so important to the health to have that kind of established circadian rhythm.
Yeah, definitely. There's things I was doing, like my coach was getting me to train on a Wednesday, right? I ended up stopping training on a Wednesday. I had a rest day because I was training Wednesday, and then I was staying awake all that night until I could go to sleep at 8 on the Thursday morning. You know, I've made smarter moves this training camp. I've cut out overtraining and fatiguing myself, and prioritized rest when I can get it. I don't think there was a benefit in training that Wednesday when I wasn't getting the rest after. So now I've had 2 rest days a week instead of 1 rest day a week, and I already feel better for it. And I've been putting on a lot more muscle and size, which is probably a benefit of that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned, your kid and everything like that. I see a lot of posts like that. I feel like that's such like a, key part of your life that you like to spotlight. Like there was this one post that I saw where you were talking about how you'd had kind of almost like a revelatory moment where you're talking about how, your kid is living their childhood and kind of seeing that through like the, I guess, anecdotal experience of you having gone through a childhood and what some of those, I guess, foundational memories for you are. I just thought that was cool. It just really comes across in a sweet way on social media, I think.
Oh yeah, thanks. Well, as a man, that is my priority. That's number one. And then obviously bare knuckle fighting and work, and that comes after that. That's actually something I've learned from my psychedelic experiences. I'm an advocate for psychedelic therapy. Psilocybin is what I've used in the past in a therapeutic session, setting. But yeah, that's a message that's come through time and time again. I can do this bare knuckle stuff, but I can't, like, um how do you say, like, forget about my daughter or neglect my daughter or my wife. But they're very supportive. Yeah, I get that time in every day where I spend time with them as well as training. I just have to schedule it and be on top of things, really. But yeah, being a father is number one, and then bare knuckle fighting and that is number two. That's the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, man. And I was seeing that discourse about utilizing psychedelics and stuff like that with Heroic Hearts, I believe you're an ambassador for as well. And it just seems like there's so many benefits to it to expand one's consciousness and in so many other, I guess, specific contexts as well, like maybe certain like military veterans who have PTSD, like subverting some of that and figuring out life going forward. So it's just cool that you're in that sort of role and I guess just advocating for the kind of use in a certain way and what benefits can come out of it.
Yeah, that's a big part of why I'm fighting. I don't take sponsorship on my front of my shorts. I wear the Right Hearts logo. I like to talk about it in interviews, because since became an ambassador quite a few years ago now, it's already grown massively, and acceptance is way up than what it was. But from my personal experience, my experience of my family members, experience of my brothers in the military, it's a great therapeutic medicine for people to use. And it's not the only thing, but a lot of people that I know have been down the road of the VA in America, and in the UK, the equivalent, and they've come out and they're not healed. They've got drugs that are masking symptoms. what psychedelics, particularly ayahuasca and psilocybin, can offer is actual healing in the right setting for the right symptoms, the right people. And yeah, the reason I'm so passionate about it is because I've felt it myself, and I've met so many people that have felt it, and I've seen the results. So that's a big part of why I'm fighting. I like to talk about it and get the awareness out there, really.
Yeah, for sure. I've had very positive experiences with it myself, and just even kind of like
Yeah.
localizing it to Canada. Like I feel like it's in kind of a similar state that cannabis was at a certain point, like in as far as like the social awareness of it and certain discourse around it kind of mounting to a certain degree. And also, I guess we even like certain storefronts too. Like I remember an era pre-cannabis legalization where they would set up stores and they'd eventually get raided and whatnot. But it's kind of one of those like hindsight things where you see how things are now. So it seems like psilocybin is potentially on a similar kind of path to that.
Yeah, and where I am here in near to Vancouver, it's like a hub in the world for studies in UBC and for companies. Like there's most of the companies I invested in a lot of psilocybin and psychedelic therapy companies. Loads of them are based here or on Vancouver Island. Seems like we're in a hub in a great time where it's becoming more accepted. Laws are changing all around the world. Different charities are popping up. A lot of people are getting helped because it's not just veterans. Obviously, that's the one I'm ambassador for. But I've helped family members. I've helped my dad. I've helped my wife by sitting in for therapeutic sessions, just help guiding, not really even guiding them. They're doing the mushrooms, but I'm sitting out on the side in case they need assistance as a sitter. And first responders, the charity I'm a part of, the Heroic Hearts Project UK, they're then branching into first responders because from a society aspect, they are on the front lines all the time. They don't get the support they need, and they're quite often just cast out at their retirement without any support or guidance or respect, really. And this is something that can help them get their lives back and get their mind in the right state, and it helps their families as well. So yeah, it's something I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, it can help in so many different capacities. Like I've had so many, it was such an interesting fluid kind of thing in a certain sense. Like I talked to a friend about this before. It's almost like it kind of interfaces between being like a very euphoric, playful kind of thing, but then you can have some very like introspective and I guess broaden your ideas when you're having conversations with certain people as well. So it's kind of like a very playful kind of thing that undulates between those sort of things almost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do use mushrooms as like a social drug as well, because the alternative for me in my whole life has been alcohol, which I love alcohol, but the reason why I was fighting as a youngster is largely due to alcohol on both parties' parts. It's a great, yeah, everyone accepts alcohol as it is, but in statistically, when you really look at it, it's really bad for you. It's bad for your body. It's bad for society. Incites violence. A lot of crimes are committed when people are under the influence of alcohol. So yeah, I use mushrooms particularly as an alternative to alcohol sometimes, um, which I think it should be obviously should be available to people. Adults can make their own decisions as long as you're not being silly with it. It should be allowed. So I think we're on a pathway to that, and I'd like to be a part of making that happen for generations that come after us, basically.
Yeah, no, it's great to see, man, and you're making great strides with that and great strides in the bare knuckle career, obviously, as well. But I do appreciate you making some time to talk today, Sonny. I guess I figured I'd kind of give you the floor in case there was maybe a final parting thought you were wanting to add as we're sort of wrapping things up here. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, there's nothing. Just tune in to August 31st where I fight on the main event. It's going to be an explosive fight. It's a great matchup. It's amateur boxer pedigree in Drew Stuve, and my pedigree would be street fighting, I'd say, but I've been boxing for many years, so it's going to be a good one. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's the perfect opportunity for me. Everything is aligning perfectly in the build up. You know, last time I was sick loads in the last couple of weeks. I don't make excuses, but I was ill I think being in the sunshine, training camp in the sunshine makes a big difference. I just feel healthy this time, and good to go. So yeah, for all your listeners and watchers, just tune in. It'll be an explosive event. Thanks for having me on as well. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hopefully the first of many Bare Knuckle Bowker appearances. And yeah, man, definitely excited for this BKFC Prospect Series Edmonton headliner. I'll be peeping on August 31st for sure. But again, thanks for the time. And until then, you have a good rest of your day, man. Thank you.
Cheers, mate. Take it easy.